Hi, welcome to Mini Movies. Today I'm going to explain a Canadian comedy film called No Men Beyond This Point. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. As the movie begins, we see a 37-year-old man named Andrew. He's the youngest man on Earth. The number of men alive has decreased in times, and Ermanno is one of them. He explains to everyone how the extinction of the male species first started. According to him, it all started with 3 or 4 women claiming to have gotten pregnant without sexual intercourse every year. People started considering it a miracle, and their belief in Christianity increased. Scientists argued that the idea of the virgin birth isn't real, but couldn't prove otherwise. By nature, everyone knew that a baby can only be born when a sperm fertilizes the egg. So those who didn't turn religious thought the women who were claiming they were pregnant are all lying. We then see a woman named Helen, who's experienced the miraculous fatherless pregnancy and has shared her story with everyone. Helen is 60 years old now, and in 1953, when she was a young woman married, there were no pregnancy tests. So she was shocked to hear the news when the doctor announced her pregnancy, because she and her husband hadn't had sex in over a year. Her husband was a little suspicious, and to confirm the results one more time, the couple went in for a checkup again, but the result the second time came out positive as well. Helen's husband left her because he thought she cheated on him. She didn't blame him, since any logical person would have thought the same. Helen also didn't have any explanation for the situation she was in. Over the years, she told everyone the truth, but no one believed her. Instead, they thought she was crazy. Eventually, she too believed that she was crazy. Years passed, and in 1988, when DNA tests were developed, the people finally believed her. Later, a TV interview from 1945 shows us a man talking about fatherless birth claims. He says that the thousands of women from around the world coming with such claims are all lying. According to him, women are prone to hysteria by nature, which means they're all copying each other to create this trend of miraculous births to hide their mischievousness. Even when the trend began to grow to a larger scale, the world leaders, who were all men at the time, ignored it, mostly because they couldn't handle the fact that they weren't needed for procreation anymore. But the number of women claiming the pregnancies without fathers didn't stop. It increased as time passed. After a certain period, women stopped trying to convince men and began to harbor anger towards men that was soon going to change the course of human history. Somewhere in the city, we see a sister named Isabella, who was living in a convent in northern Spain, where men were strictly forbidden from entering. But to Isabella's bad luck, she also got pregnant just like the other women outside the convent. The church was completely run by men who wanted her out of the convent and labeled Isabella as a bad woman. So she and the other nuns came together and protested. The protest inside the convent triggered women all around the world who had been suppressing their anger. Therefore, they all united together and came to the streets and started protesting against all men. The men who were in power tried to calm them by saying that the scientists are still trying to understand how this phenomenon can be possible, but women were not ready to return after listening to that. Therefore, they continued to protest, as they were tired of being called liars. The protest didn't stop in the street. Instead, it continued everywhere. The working women stopped going to their jobs, while housewives stopped looking after their families. Meanwhile, Helen's husband comes looking for her after learning the truth, and he wants to take her back in his life. But Helen had come to the realization that she didn't need him for anything in her life, and rejects his request. Soon, women all over the world realized that men's primary jobs were to help them procreate, and without that, they're of no use. As the number of fatherless pregnancies went up, the number of sexual pregnancies went down rapidly. Science finally came up with the reasoning for the miraculous pregnancies, and it turned out that women had evolved into asexual beings with time, meaning their eggs could create all the genetic materials that are required for childbirth. They called the process pathogenesis. When scientists looked deep into the study, they found the eggs in women's bodies had stopped receiving sperm. They also tried injecting the sperm into the egg, but it died instantly after injection, making sexual reproduction completely impossible. And since the child is born without the Y chromosome, all the kids are girls. So altogether, the male species was on the verge of extinction. Later, an American election took place, and a woman named Eleanor won the election and became the President of the United States. She was also the first woman elected president in American history. The president introduced some new programs in the country, such as the Worker Replacement Program, in which every man who holds a powerful or leadership position in any institution had to be re-evaluated to see if they actually are fitted for the job, or if they got it because of their male privilege. Because of all the new rules and programs, hundreds of men lost their jobs and became homeless. All those agitated men moved to the woods in the countryside, waiting for women to realize their mistakes. But the men realized that it didn't happen, Instead, it was the opposite that took place. By mid-1970s, all women understood that they didn't need men to survive in any aspects of their lives. Understanding that, some men returned to society and took mediocre jobs, while others stood their ground and continued protesting. By 1975, women represented 3/4 of the population on Earth. Because of this, all women's menstrual cycles began to synchronize, and a new phenomenon called menstrual synchronization was discovered. To provide men with proper accommodation, the government created sanctuaries all over the world and asked that all of the male population move there. Men there were provided proper nutritious food, shelters, and entertainment, and were asked to confine themselves in those particular areas. A large number of men stopped protesting and went to the sanctuaries, where they started living a quality life. The leader of men, Darius, claimed that men are only planning their attack in the sanctuaries and are not ready to carry it out outside. As technology developed, people found the cause of the situation in the world. According to the findings, a comet passed the Earth in 1952, and 9 months later, the first asexual baby was born, which means that the comet had something to do with the transformation. Finally, it was confirmed that women are aliens. However, the theory had no proof and was therefore just accepted widely as a rumor. At present, Andrew works as a housemaid for a family that consists of only women. The couple appointed him to take care of their daughters and do all kinds of work in the house. Andrew doesn't feel special for being the youngest man alive because it's always been like that for him. One among the couple, Iris, says that Andrew is a delightful housemaid and is very good at his job. She likes him mostly because he's way cheaper than a female housemaid. She believes that his influence will be good on her children and grandchildren because they'll be able to live as the last few women who have male influence in their lives. Iris's partner, Tara, isn't very fond of Andrew because of his closeness to Iris. One day, when the children go in the field for their football match, they also take Andrew with them for help, but he's only allowed to stay on the sidelines. While waiting, Andrew meets 2 men who are older than him. They share some words about their work and life. Suddenly, one of the girls disrupts them and informs them about the law, which says that the gathering of more than 2 men at a place is illegal. The guys listen to her, and they separate. One day, while Tara and Iris are in an interview telling people what it's like living with Andrew, Iris says that she likes Andrew a lot. As the conversation goes further, it becomes clear to Tara that her parenting partner, Iris, is attracted to Andrew. Tara becomes furious and asks the interviewer to switch off the camera. Later, when Iris is alone with the interviewer in the kitchen, she admits that she and Andrew have fallen in love with each other. Moments later, Iris meets Andrew outside the house, and they get into a heated argument about their hidden relationship. The argument ends with both sharing a romantic kiss. The kids, who are watching this from nearby, become shocked, as they've never seen anything like that before in their lives. Tara also witnesses the moment and sends the kids inside. After being found to have a relation with his employer, Andrew's work permit is revoked, and he's sent to a sanctuary. He lives there for a while, but his mind and heart are back at the house. He can't get Iris out of his head, even for a second. The other men in the sanctuary have given up all their hopes, and also, they don't have any reason to go back to society. But Andrew keeps on thinking of a way to escape. He somehow manages to send Iris a letter and asks her to meet him outside the sanctuary. After a few days, Andrew escapes the sanctuary and reunites with her. They both believe in their relationship and arrange a press conference where they both explain the importance of both genders in a society. Everyone appreciates their efforts and decide to help men from extinction. The government also gives permission for Iris and Andrew to get married. With a lot of scientific research, Iris becomes pregnant with Andrew's child, and the movie ends with Andrew informing the press that he doesn't want the child to be a girl, while Iris looks at him in disappointment for his statement.